I've been on the pursuit of simplicity for a long time. And a few years ago, I was really intrigued and challenged by a meme that was going around that had a chart about the difference between simplistic and simple. Welcome to the Growing People podcast. My name is John Losi, and this is a place where we explore how people really grow and how communities and organizations learn as well. So today I wanted to share a little bit about what I've learned about the movement from simplistic or dumbed down to elegant solutions. And it's really become kind of a foundational concept on how I go about thinking about quality thinking. So let's take a look at what we've got going here. So here is a nice little grid, a graph, and what it shows is complexity going up and elegance going along the axis here. So the idea is that as you move towards elegance, the complexity increases and then goes down. So I wanted to kind of deconstruct this graph a little bit and see how it helps us understand how do we get to really good decision making and problem solving. So first of all, the first thing, and this is where I saw when I was working in large organizations, a request is made for a decision or a program or something that's going to impact the organization, and immediately the request is made, let's say, by an executive, and immediately managers start scrambling, and they end up doing something that's right here. They haven't even touched on the complications of the issue yet. They just want to get an answer out. And they end up sending out an answer that is simplistic or dumbed down. On the surface, it looks like, hey, this is the first idea we've got, let's go with it. The problem is it hasn't accounted for all the complexity, all the complications that might be involved in any solution. This is where when you implement these kind of solutions, you get unintended consequences all over the place. So you've got to take a look at how complicated it is. And how often have you heard people use the phrase, in order to avoid something, they just say, well, it's complicated. And that seems to be an excuse to avoid diving into it. But if you want to get to a good, elegant solution, you really have to dive in to all the complications. It looks like a hairball of knots and it's complicated and it's all over the place. But really, this is when you need to really explore. Keep on looking, keep on digging, keep on looking around to see what else is involved in this. And there's some people who avoid the complications like the plague. There's other people who look at the complications as a challenge. And I tend to fall in that, and I want to dig into the complications, sometimes even if they're not there. As you dive into all the details, sometimes you'll find that you've already dealt with this, that you've already made the decision earlier. You don't have to deal with the complications because the decision's already been made. But other times you really need to dig in, dive in, and as you start to weed your way through and weave your way through the complicatedness of the issue, you begin to get an appreciation for the elegance of the problem. And that's when it turns from being complicated to being complex. You start to separate out the things that aren't really part of the problem or part of the issue. You start to look at the main parts and how they contribute. You're looking at cause and effect and cause, multiple causes, multiple effects, and you're starting to get an appreciation for everything that's going on with this particular issue. Now, the temptation is to start sharing your solutions at this point. And in fact, you're not really sharing solutions, you're just sharing your appreciation for the complexity. And not too many people want that. They relying on you to weave through all the complexity and come up with something simple that they can understand. But if you share at this point, if you publish your solutions at this point, you're only going to add to the complexity and maybe even drive it back towards the complicatedness. No, you've got to keep moving forward and you need to move into essentialization, where exploration gets you into the meat of the complexity. Essentializing takes out all the things that aren't relevant or unimportant in order to get down to what is the simplest solution, something that is simple yet not too simple. It still deals with the essential things of that issue and addresses the essentials of that problem. Jim Collins talks about make sure you can answer, if you can answer just one question instead of 100, then you're getting towards a solution. So what this is about is answering that one right question. And that's when your answer is simple. It's not that it's dumbed down, it's that you've gone through the complicatedness, you've appreciated the complexity, and you've essentialized your solution down to its most simple form. And now is the time when people can really grasp that concept, that solution. And the good thing is, if people don't buy your solution, your simple solution, you can also always walk it back up that complexity. And you can get as complex as they need to because you've been there before. So this is the path that you take to get from simplistic to elegance when you're talking about decision making and problem solving. This is the start towards quality thinking.